technology that is built for your every sense. Acer Pure from Acer.
Now, US President Donald Trump's tariffs are set to kick in, and this is going to include the additional 25% penalty that he imposed on Indian imports. Now, this would mean that after just a few hours, Americans will have to pay 50% more tariff on imports of several Indian goods. This is naturally expected to affect India's exports in the near future, and many experts predict that Indian exports could see a substantial drop as well to the United States of America in the ongoing financial year. So let's give you a lowdown on which sectors specifically could be affected. The sectors that are quite worried about this 50% Trump tariff that's going to kick in. Textiles and apparel. The exports in 2024-25, which is current year, is estimated to be around $10.9 billion. So textiles and apparel industry that's extremely worried. Then you've got jewelry, diamonds, golds. That's also exported to the United States of America from India. Exports are, in the range of about $10 billion. Then you have mechanical appliances. Those exports are going to get impacted as well. The amount we are looking at is about $6.7 billion. And this industry is also extremely worried. And then you've got agriculture and meat exports worth around $6 billion that are going to have an impact of this 50% Trump tariff. And then you have steel, aluminium, copper exports, which are, in the range of about $4.7 to $5 billion. Even they are expected to get impacted. Now, this is as per the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Now, viewers, the world is quite aware that Donald Trump can be quite unpredictable. So these are just some of the sectors that will be affected for now. However, there are some sectors that would be exempt from the Trump tax, at least for now. Now, let's tell you a little bit about the sectors which have got a breather, at least for the moment. Because when it comes to Donald Trump, we just can't be sure. So you've got farmers which currently are safe. They are not going to get impacted by this 50% Trump tariff. Exports, in this year is estimated around $12.7 billion. Then we have got electronics and smartphones. Their exports are also safe, at least for now. Then you've got petroleum products and their exports, which are around $4.1 billion. That's the estimate. They are also in the safe category for now. Now, this is what is going to, remain safe, at least for now. So the question that begs an answer now is, India's loss is whose gain? Who's going to benefit if Indian exports are going to get impacted to the United States of America? Remember, Donald Trump has put India in the highest bracket when it comes to his tariffs, 50%, giving other nations a competitive edge simply because they have lower tariffs imposed on them. So who is expected to gain? Let's tell you who really gains with India's loss with respect to exports to the United States of America. When it comes to textiles, the likely gainers are Bangladesh, Vietnam and Mexico, because the tariffs in all these three countries is much lower. Then when it comes to another important industry, which is diamonds and gold, the likely gainers are Israel, Belgium and China, because these also export diamonds and gold jewelry to the United States of America. When it comes to meat and processed food, then countries like Pakistan, Thailand as well as Vietnam are expected to gain, while Indian exporters are going to suffer. When it comes to steel, aluminium and copper, then the countries that are likely to see the gain, or the regions that are likely to see the gain, is includes Canada, European Union and of course the United Kingdom. Now this is as per an analysis by GTRI. Now viewers, experts are predicting that India's exports could actually drop to $18.6 billion from where it stands at the moment. However, several experts also believe these tariffs would equally hurt the American supply chain in the short term. But how much of a drop do we expect in India as of now? How much will these Trump tariffs hurt India? Let's give you a sense of that as well. This is a projection by GTRI. 70% drop in major export sectors is what we are looking at. 43% decline in overall shipping to the US is something that we need to brace for. So clearly this is going to have a cascading impact on other issues, other activities here as well. Many are fearing job losses, a drop in investment as well in these specific sectors. Now, on the day Trump's 50% tariff on India kicks in, the United States of America President Donald Trump takes a swipe at Bharat, posts on Truth Social, America First, with an image of him standing next to an oil barrel. There you can see, this is the picture that he has put out. America is back. That is the message that he has tried to give on a day. 50% tariff on India kicks in. Let's go across to my colleague Srinjoy Chaudhary joining us live right now for more on this. Srinjoy, good morning. Firstly, for the benefit of our viewers, could you decode this picture for our viewers? This barrel, and then it has a bubble which says America First. It's a very specific logo that we are looking at. How should we interpret this?
First of all, America is one of the largest producers of petroleum in the world. And this is also could well be a way of telling India that, look here, you produce, you buy Russian crude and then export it to America after refining it. Now, if this is the message, this is a choice that America made. This is a choice America not only made, but told India about it. America told India that, look here, if you buy crude from the Russians, then the world prices of crude stay low. And then when you refine it and send it to America, America will see it as Indian crude. Now, this was the point. Now, President Trump believes that it's America first, and American oil first, and a barrel signifies American superiority when it comes to production of crude, because there's a lot of shale and all that America gets oil from. Well, all that is fine. But at the end of the day, those decisions about buying refined Russian crude refined by India were made by America. And that was a decision that was taken a long time ago, and America persisted in doing that. Now, if President Trump wants to change his mind, he is absolutely welcome to do that. As External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has said, that look, if you don't want to buy our refined oil, don't buy it. No one's forcing you to do it.
Right. Absolutely. That was a message that was sent very clearly by External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. And yesterday, Prime Minister Modi also sent a clear message to Trump administration, of course, without naming it. But a clear message was sent, a message of Atmanirbharta was sent to the entire world. Stay on with us, Srinjoy. We have Pathik Payne, who is an expert in this field, strategic affairs expert. He's joining us on the phone line as well this morning. Good morning, Mr. Payne. Thank you for speaking with us here on Times Now. So the D-Day has finally arrived. 50% tariffs have kicked in from today, 27th of August. The notification had come a day before that only. But we also had a 2+2 dialogue, between Washington and New Delhi amidst this trade tension. So how do you really view the developments?
Good morning. First of all, this is Pathik Payne. Secondly, let's put it that way. I think India has been prepared for it. To some or the other day, there would have been some kind of a pushback from the Americans because of India's, resilience, because of India's push towards Atmanirbharta. And I think this is one red line that we have to take care of and we have to cross when the time comes. I think there is a divergence between what the White House states and what the State Department wants, and simultaneously there's a huge divergence between White House and the Wall Street. I think even now you would see there would be a huge rush of American investments in India. They cannot disown this market, which is the only market in the world which is among the top 5 economies of the world, which is growing and which is open to American investments. Certainly the Chinese are not open to the American investments, but the Indians are, and therefore, for all the major gifted companies or other major Fortune 500 companies of Indian origin, if they have to do their revenue projections for the next 1 decade, they cannot disown the Indian market. So you would see, in spite of all the tantrums and all the statements that are coming from the Trump administration, especially from the White House, you would see silent maneuvering being done by the other departments, including the State Department and primarily the Wall Street, which is totally committed and invested to the Indian market. So I think in spite of all the challenges that have been put up, our exports only to the extent of 5% will get impacted. Its entire impact on the GDP will be a little more or less around 1%. And therefore, India has enough capacity to absorb it. Once that GST reform 2.0 comes during the Diwali time, I think that would have a tremendous positive impact so far as India's internal consumption architecture is concerned. And I think over a period of time, you would see India would push towards the 80-20 model. 80% of Indian economy will predominantly remain internal consumption driven, so that we do not succumb to all these whims and fancies of certain other countries. But certainly this whole saga has nothing to do with the Russian oil, because if the Russian oil was the prime reason, they could have easily imposed sanctions on the Russian oil, which the Americans have not imposed till date. There's only a price cap, nothing more. I think there are other reasons. And if the Americans think that they can force India to open its poultry, dairy, fisheries and agriculture market by all these arm twisting, it is certainly not going to help. I think my last point, the whole thing, what is happening is probably temporary. India knows it pretty well, because eventually it is going to hurt and pinch the American consumers very badly if they continue with these tariffs over a period of time. America is not a primary producer of goods anymore. It is a service provider. So for manufacturing, they would have to depend either on India or on somebody else. And for companies to suddenly change supply chain from India to anywhere else is not very easy. So there is a wait and watch policy. That's why the companies have not yet reacted. But eventually, I think this is going to go away. I think this is a temporary hiccup. But India's resilience journey will continue. Back to you.
Mr. Pine, so you're saying that this is a temporary hiccup for the companies here, and they'll be able to deal with this shock because of the domestic consumption, which is quite solid. Thank you very much for joining us with your perspective on this. Viewers, Shinjoy continues to be with us as well. In fact, let's tell you a little bit more about this story. While imposing punitive action on India, putting the moral burden of Ukrainian deaths on us and shaming us for buying fuel from Russia and funding the massacre, US itself is discussing energy deals with Russian officials. If sponsoring war is the real reason, why is United States of America not imposing secondary sanctions, as the White House calls it, on China? Beijing, remember, was the largest Russian oil purchaser last year. The hypocrisy, viewers, doesn't end here. In fact, on Tuesday only, Trump said that US will allow entry of 6 lakh students from China and hailed what he calls great relationship with China. And here is the hypocrisy on record.
The president has applied aggressive economic leverage. For example, the secondary tariffs on India to try to make it harder for the Russians to get rich from their oil economy. He's tried to make it clear that Russia can be reinvited into the world economy if they stop the killing, but they're going to continue to be isolated if they don't stop the killing.
We're going to have a great relationship with China. I mean, it's happening. You see it. It's happening. They have some cards. We have incredible cards, but I don't want to play those cards. If I played those cards, that would destroy China. I'm not going to play those cards.
Even as Donald Trump goes ahead with his tariffs, rating agencies have shown faith in Modinomics. Fitch has affirmed India's credit rating at BBB- with a stable outlook. S&P Global has upgraded India's sovereign rating to BBB from BBB-. Now, what this means is that despite impending tariffs, there is resilience in the Indian economy that rating agencies feel will continue to ensure that India remains the fastest growing economy in the world. Now, resilience also showed in Prime Minister Modi's assertion, second of its kind, that Bharat won't give in to any kind of pressure, no matter how great it is. At the same time, strategy is in place for future.
मेरी सरकार किसानों का, पशुपालकों का कभी भी अहित नहीं होने देंगी। दबाव कितना ही क्यों ना आए, हम झेलने की अपनी ताकत बढ़ाते जाएंगे।
वोकल फॉर लोकल बने, स्वदेशी, ये हमारा जीवन मंत्र बनना चाहिए दोस्तों। गर्व से स्वदेशी की तरफ चल पड़ो।
I mean, negotiations are still going on in the sense that nobody said the negotiations are off. You know, I mean, and people do talk to each other. I mean, it's not like there's a kutti there. So look, what happens is we have red lines.
Let's now go across to Sharat Kohli, senior economist, who's joining us on the phone line as well this morning. Good morning, Mr. Kohli. Thank you for speaking with us here on Times Now. So 50% Trump tariff kicks in from today. We know that textiles, gems and jewelry sector are going to be badly impacted. What is your assessment of how India has really handled this entire situation?
Good morning to you and to the viewers of Times Now. I think India is very, very clear on its stance that we are not going to bend down to the pressure the way US has done with Vietnam, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and some of the other countries who clearly agreed to their condition. They said, okay, you can bring in whatever you want for free, but tariffs would be levied when the goods leave from their country into US. I think India has got two concerns. One, agri and dairy cannot be compromised. You know, we are structurally an agrarian economy. We cannot compromise on that. And also, we cannot compromise on the other conditions being laid by the US government, the Trump administration for that matter. I think India is taking enough steps. You can foresee some export promotion schemes coming. About $45 to $50 billion of goods are being impacted. Starting from tomorrow morning, we are a little behind time, a little ahead of time from them. So from tomorrow morning, you will see these coming into impact. So obviously, it will make Indian goods to that extent uncompetitive as far as the US markets are concerned. Primarily, the sectors impacted, I thought, gems and jewelry, textiles, marine products, some part of machinery, leather, footwear. These are some of the items which are being impacted. But I think the exporters have already started looking for markets beyond America, which is we're looking at Europe, Eurasian, we're looking at Far East, Southeast, Australia, Africa, Latin America. I think the whole world is our market. Indian exports are about $825 billion, and the export being impacted is barely 2% of our GDP. Thankfully, we are not an export-oriented economy, although exports are welcome, which is why Prime Minister said that Swadeshi is the call, being self-dependent. And this self-dependence comes on both fronts, imports as well as exports. So Prime Minister is concerned about the fact that even imports we get impacted when imports are strangulated. For example, what happened with China some time ago, where fertilizers, tunnel boring machines and rare earth magnets were stopped. So we get impacted. I think self-dependence is the answer, and you will see in the next few weeks and next few months things would settle down.
Okay, Mr. Kohli, in the past also we have seen how Prime Minister Modi has always given this message whenever there has been some kind of a crisis. For example, during COVID as well, how India then, turned that crisis into an opportunity. We ramped up our manufacturing at that time as well. So do you think, as we stare at this possibility of about $45 billion worth of exports to America getting impacted because of 50% Trump tariff, this perhaps could also be, in a way, an opportunity for India to expand? I mean, you learn to swim when you are thrown into the deep sea, isn't it?
Without a doubt, absolutely. In fact, as I said, exporters are already looking at market. And, with the government support, like, for example, the GST, next-gen GST reforms announced recently, and on which GST Council meeting is going to happen on 3rd and 4th of September, you will find goods getting cheaper. Most of the goods getting cheaper with 2 of the GST slabs getting scrapped. So I think the exporters can look at manufacturing those products. They can start selling in India. India is a huge market. We've got the world's largest middle class here. And you can easily sell textiles, footwear, all the items which are being impacted. They can be sold here. So alternate means have to be looked after. And I'm sure the government, along with exporters, along with support of the government, both, they will work shoulder to shoulder to make sure that this crisis is turned into an opportunity. I see no doubt that, India is going to come out with flying colors. It may be a temporary bump to the economy to a certain extent. We can see a little bit of bump on GDP to the extent of 0.2 to 0.5%. But eventually we'll come out as winners, and it's America that's going to learn its lesson the hard way, because you just wait and see till 1st September. Inflation is going to hit American economy like anything.
Right.
$38 trillion is the debt on American economy. It's going to sink. You know, the dollar is going to be impacted, and I'm sure President Trump will learn the hard way.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sharad Kohli. Appreciate you speaking with us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective. So clearly, upcoming GST reforms are going to boost the domestic consumption. That's one aspect. And second, how this moment can, become an opportunity for India, as many experts believe that this will help us also look beyond Washington, D.C., beyond America. Look at other markets that we can also export to as well. Meanwhile, we have a reaction coming in from former Foreign Secretary and Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament, Harshvardhan Shringla, who says, hopefully, we will find a way to conclude a satisfactory, mutually beneficial free trade agreement with the United States of America.
That we will find a way to conclude a satisfactory, mutually beneficial free trade agreement with the United States early rather than late. And that would certainly take us to the next step of the visit of President Trump to India, a meeting with the Quad leaders, and I think really setting us back on track. I am hopeful that we will find a way to conclude a satisfactory, mutually beneficial free trade agreement with the United States early rather than late. And that would certainly take us to the next step of the visit of President Trump to India, a meeting with the Quad leaders, and I think really setting us back on track.